There's a new craze in town, kids. Everybody's doing a new bebop dance. It's called minimalism and decluttering. Okay, so maybe it's not like a new bebop dance. Maybe it's not even all that new at all, but with the sort of advent of social media and the overtaking of, just different like trends and things that people are doing and the way they spread like wildfire with social media, minimalism and decluttering is a huge topic. And I'm not even going to get into all the reasons why, most of which are excellent and good reasons. But if you watch those videos, if you watch that content, if you scroll past certain things, you read things, and you find yourself feeling like, that's awesome, it's not really who I am. Or maybe you try it and you're not happy with the end result. Or maybe you just feel completely overwhelmed by the idea of ever getting to a place of being that minimal. Now, of course, you have to remember that what the internet is going to pump out, the videos that are going to go viral, are the most extremes, okay? So the guy who lives with like not even a pillow and one shirt and nothing else, I don't know. It's extreme, okay? But that's the kind of stuff that's going to take off. However, that is not what defines minimalism. It's not the metrics you should be using when you're making decluttering decisions. What I am going to share with you guys today is from my perspective as someone who now feels very comfortable saying that I am not a minimalist, I am a maximalist. The truth is that I love sentimental things. I like having a wardrobe, a fun wardrobe, a colorful wardrobe, different things for different seasons. There's just certain areas of my life that I'm never going to be a minimalist in. If that resonates with you, if the idea that, I for one don't want to live in a home with like a sofa and a picture on the wall and that's it. It doesn't feel inviting to me. It doesn't feel homey to me. And if I am being truly honest with myself, it's also something that I know that for my own self, I actually have no real desire to achieve that kind of minimalism. The truth is that the only reason I would ever become a minimalist or have like a truly minimal home is out of some sense of like I should, like some kind of guilt or feeling like that's what I'm supposed to do, right? And that is completely misplaced. And I now feel very confident in saying like, that's not who I am, this is how I am. But if you've been around here, you also know that there are elements of minimalism that I very much appreciate and utilize in my own life. And there are also methods of decluttering that I use and that are very, very valuable to me. So I want to share with you how you can become more minimal, how you can have some more minimalistic mindset and approach to things when you're a maximalist. If that resonates with you, if you feel like, I love to declutter, I like a lot of the principles and some of the ideas behind minimalism, but it still just doesn't quite feel like me, then stick around because I've got some great tips to share with you guys and some little thought starters and just some ways that you can wrap your head around this and move forward so you can feel confident in decluttering and getting rid of things and all of that. You can also begin to apply some of the really universal ideas behind minimalism to your own life, even if you yourself are not a minimalist. I think these tips are going to be helpful for you, so let's get started. Let's get this party started. Woo. The first question is, do you have to have less or nothing to be a minimalist? Well, I've got good news for you. There is no like defined amount of items that you have to be a minimalist. If you look across sort of the spectrum of just people who share about minimalism online, you will find that some of them have way more stuff than others. We're not fighting to get to this place of hierarchy with minimalism. I mean, getting yourself to the point of having virtually nothing, I suppose, would be the achieved enlightenment of minimalism. But most people have no desire to live like that and aren't ever going to get there. So it's important to remember that there really are no rules, there's no referee, and guess what? There's no minimalism police. They're going to come flying to your house with their lights on, whipping out the cuffs and being like, reading you your Miranda rights because you have 6 throw pillows instead of the 2 that you've been allotted by minimalism. There's no arbiter, there's no gatekeeper. Minimalism is about the idea of the things that you own and the decisions that you make about the things that you bring into your home being more purposeful and making those decisions with intention. So minimalism is really meant to be about sort of the whole ethos of your life being about purpose and intention, not just randomly, willy-nilly bringing stuff in all the time and just filling your home with crap all the time just for the sake of it, right? It's about being intentional about what you have and having a purpose behind the things that you have. Within that definition, there is no like, but you can only have 2 of this item. You can only have 1 of this item. Well, no, if that item has a purpose in your life, you were intentional about bringing it in, then you can have 5 if you want, right? So even though I do not consider myself to be a minimalist, I still adhere and apply a lot of the principles of that to my life and to the decisions that I make about what I'm bringing into my home. With that said, I want to remind you of a few things. 1, it's okay to like stuff and things. It's okay to like having certain categories of things or whatever that is for you, okay? Whether it's collectible figurines, whether it's vintage Star Wars characters or hats, throw pillows, I don't know, coffee cups, whatever it is, it's okay to like things. It's okay to collect things. It's okay to have things. The stuff is not the enemy, okay? It's also okay to like fashion, to like clothes, to enjoy having a larger wardrobe. There's a lot of people for whom being minimalistic about their wardrobe is really about the freedom that it gives them to walk away from fashion stuff, which is things that they have no interest in. So if you're somebody who wakes up and is like, I hate getting dressed, I don't like clothes, I don't like buying clothes, then being minimalistic about your wardrobe is going to suit you very well. But if you're somebody who loves fashion, who expresses themselves through clothing, who loves the changing seasons and trying new fashion trends or all of that kind of thing, that's totally fine too. It doesn't make you a bad person despite what people will tell you. Everyone has different things that are of interest to them. So don't let someone's lack of interest in something define for you whether or not your interest in it is a good or bad thing. Nobody is, again, the gatekeeper of goodness or badness when it comes to our interests, our areas of interest. And the truth is that even though the saying that like money doesn't buy happiness and things will never bring you joy, this is true to a degree. But I think we all know that money doesn't buy happiness, but it sure makes a difference when you know you can feed your family, when you know you can pay your bills, and when you know that one unexpected bill in the mail, medical bill, isn't going to break you. So money doesn't buy happiness, but the security and peace that having adequate resources can provide you is meaningful. So with that said, no, stuff isn't going to make you happy or bring you joy in that way, but there are items that you can own that will make your life easier, that may actually bring you more joy. Maybe it's just something silly like I love my microfiber little bottom slippers that I shared about recently that I wear when I'm mopping. It's just a little pair of slippers. I don't need them. I don't have to have them, but they bring me joy when I'm doing a task that I have to do constantly all the time that by most standards would just be mundane and boring. So that's just one example, but my point is that some of these kind of like trite sayings and expressions that we toss around, there's of course truth in them, but it's also more complex than that. So don't feel like, again, that you are held to some random person online or an influencer that you follow who's like laying out for you how to do these things. My rules for me don't have to be your rules for you. You are an adult. You're a fully grown person and you can make those decisions for yourself. Nobody gets to tell you the right number of items to have in your home, the right things to keep. With all that said, I want to be very clear that liking stuff, liking things is not bad. It's the love of those things that is a bad thing, okay? It's when we come to love and value the things in our life above all else, above others, above the people in our lives, above our obligations, above common sense, above using our brains, right? It's when we're maxing out our credit cards to buy things that we don't need and that aren't really making us happy. We're just buying them because they give us that little endorphin kick or dopamine hit, kind of depending on how your brain processes buying things and packages arriving at your door or whatever. It can have this chemical reaction in our body and in our brains that becomes addictive even. So it's the love of those things that's bad, not the liking of those things, okay? So to me, it's a very important distinction to make, because as someone who is a maximalist and who likes clothing, who likes home decor, who likes things, I don't value any of those things above my family, above my friends, the people in my life. If my home was burning down, I wouldn't think twice about any of my purses in my closet or anything like that, right? That would be the last thing that I would think about. You may have known someone in your life who was wealthy or well-to-do. They had nice things, but they were really kind, good, generous people. And you might have known people who were wealthy and they were jerks, okay? But the same is true on the other end of the spectrum. You have likely met people who are struggling, maybe living on some, cusp of poverty, but they are kind and giving, and they still give of what they have, even when that giving feels like it kind of hurts to them in the moment because they need it too. And then there's people who don't have much, who are at that same line, and they are jerks and they are greedy and they steal. There's good and bad on both ends of those spectrum, because we're all just human beings. And it's really, again, like the money itself doesn't make any decisions. That item doesn't make any decisions. It's the person who's spending the money. It's the person who owns the item. It's the heart and the person behind the stuff that matters. So I would encourage you of that if you know what kind of person you are, you feel solid in your character and who you are, then you don't have to worry that your liking of stuff and liking of certain items is any kind of indication of who you are as a person, and your goodness as a person. It has no bearing on that whatsoever. And don't let anybody tell you any different. Now, when you feel ready to start actually doing the work of decluttering in your home and getting things organized, if you are someone who likes stuff, if you are someone who is a maximalist, then this can feel overwhelming, because some of the rules and ways that, maybe some more minimalistic people would go about it is going to be a little bit different for you. I'm going to share with you guys some of my sort of rules and framework of how I go about it, with the knowledge that I'm not a minimalist. The number one rule is, if something is coming in, then something needs to go out. Or better yet, something goes out, then something new can come in, right? But if I'm purchasing a couple new dresses or something for spring, I will go through my closet and remove the same amount of items before I bring in anything new, because I don't want my closet to become overwhelming. Again, I won't wear the clothes that I have and these new things that I really like and want to wear. I won't do it if they're crammed into a closet that I can't see and everything is just a disorganized mess. So what I usually do is take it to my teenage daughters, ask them if they want those items. If they don't want them, I'll check with my sister or some of my friends, and then I usually donate them. That's just kind of the easiest way for me. If it's something that's pricier and I know I'm really truly done with it, I do have a way that I sell some of my stuff online if it's a more expensive item. So that's kind of how I handle that. But if it's like a Target, Old Navy type item, I just gift it or donate it. If it's a pricier item, and especially if it's in really excellent condition, then I will try to sell it to recoup some of the money from that item. But it's the same concept for toys for your kids, right? Even if it's not something for you. We keep a very minimal amount of toys. People are always a little surprised when they come to our house by how few toys our kids have. The amount of toys your kids have is something that you as parents have to decide what you're comfortable with and go from there. And don't let anybody else tell you that your kids have too much or not enough. The reality is that, well, they'll have too much and you'll realize it, because you'll never be able to stay on top of keeping it clean, and they will start fighting over things. Trust me, I've been there. But I think the one in, one out rule works really great for items like that: clothing, kids' toys, things that you tend to be more tempted to purchase regularly, right? Now, the other thing that I have tried to do, but it is hard. So I give you this tip with the caveat that I am still really, really working on this one myself. which is to increase the quality of things I'm purchasing, not the quantity. I am good in this when it comes to like furniture and things. I've just learned my lesson over the years. I will just wait and save to buy a often more expensive piece of furniture than to continue buying crap furniture that's super cheap, but that my kids are going to destroy just by nature of being kids. It's not always intentional. Yes, sometimes it feels like it is, but most of the time it's not. It's just this cabinet wasn't meant to be open and shut 55,000 times a day. My point is that the better quality items are often just a far better use of your money. I do really try to do that when it comes to adding certain things into my wardrobe, but it's very hard to fight that thing in your head that says, you can't spend that much money on that thing. Well, you can if you're going to buy that one thing and not buy 50 different variations of that one thing. The quality of items really does make such a difference in the longevity of those items in your home, and it can save you a lot in the long run if you're not just constantly replacing something that you got the crappiest version of because it was super cheap. Again, I'm well aware that these decisions all have to be made based on your financial situation and what you can afford. And for most of my life, I could afford whatever was the cheapest option. Okay, so I totally get that. And even once you have the funds perhaps to start buying more expensive items, it's very hard to get out of the mindset of buying the cheapest thing possible. So I just want to tell you that I feel like this is the way to go, though I am not perfect at going that way. Okay? The biggest thing is that when you are standing at the store, and I am working hard on this, okay, is making those decisions when you're at the store, if you are an impulse purchaser, is really stopping to ask yourself, do I really need this? Is this truly like a impulse, decision, a snap decision? Is this just something I'm seeing and I think that I really like and I might want that? Did I ever have like a need for that prior? Or is this just, the memes about like go to Target and Target tells you what you need, right? Like we don't want to do that, okay? We don't want Target to tell us what we need. Is this something that's going to make my life easier or better or run smoother during the day? Again, there are some weird little random things that I purchase that definitely might seem like more of an impulse purchase type item, but they're things that really do enhance my day-to-day life and my ability to get things done quickly and efficiently. I'm specifically talking about like cleaning products and cleaning tools and things like that. Sometimes it really does make cleaning certain things a lot easier, right? I could hand scrub out the stains on my sofa, but I'd rather use my little hand upholstery cleaner machine, my Bissell little green machine. It makes it go so much faster, so much easier. It saves me a lot of time, which for me is a huge value. I would also remind you that as you're going through this process of decluttering and all of that, if you're finding this process to be highly stressful to you, then I think you might be doing it wrong. It's gonna be a little bit chaotic at times as you're trying to like make decisions, especially if you have a lot of stuff to go through, if you have a room that you've never even kind of decluttered, okay? It could be a bit stressful in that way. But if you are stressing yourself out about the decisions, about what to keep, what to donate, all of that, you need to kind of reframe how you're making those decisions because it shouldn't be stressful. It should be freeing. You should feel good when it's done. You should feel pretty confident about the choices that you made in the process of decluttering different things. You don't want it to be stressful, truly. You want it to be something that helps you like breathe a sigh of relief and feel like you've got your life together better. You can actually utilize the things you have in your home. A couple of things that I like to think about when I'm going through and making the piles of things, especially when I'm in like my living room or dining room or like a family area. So we're out of my bedroom, we're not making clothing decisions or any of that stuff. But let's just say, for example, I have a lot of like knick-knacky things from my travels, the family heirlooms and stuff. My goal with those things is to display as many of them as possible. Get them out and put out in my home somewhere where they can be on display so I can see them and appreciate them because that's why I'm saving them, because they mean something to me. So I want them to be out and displayed in my home. If I have so many things that they can't reasonably be displayed, I have tons of boxes, then it's probably time to go through and make some decisions about those items and whether or not I really want to keep them. And if you've got an area of your life where you have a lot of one certain item, it's really a good idea to go through and really just pick out your favorites, okay? You don't need to keep them all. Just as an example, okay, I have a ton of coffee mugs, but I do have a few favorites, and they're the ones that I really reach for. I look to see, is that one clean? I love that one. Is that one clean? So I can go through my coffee cups and say, all right, here's 20. Let me pick my 10 favorites, and then I will get rid of the other 10. Because some I just have, I feel like I should keep them because someone gave them to me or something like that. It's really important, and we'll talk about this in a future video, but it's very important to let go of the guilt over things that you think you should keep, because especially if you like things and you are not a minimalist, if you are more of a maximalist, you're never going to feel like things are decluttered and organized if you are keeping so many things just out of guilt. That's not a good way to make decisions about what you keep. In an upcoming video, I'm going to share with you guys, I've been working on the list. It's about 10, but it's more like 10 to 13, somewhere in there. Questions and things that I ask myself and consider when I'm going through a room and decluttering and getting rid of things, like how I work my piles. Again, this is from the perspective of someone who is not a minimalist. So if you are a minimalist or that's the direction you want to head, I have so many friends on YouTube here that make videos about minimalism that you will love. Dawn, the Minimal Mom, is one of my dear, sweet friends, and she's wonderful. She has a very minimalistic home, and her whole mindset about everything, she's fantastic to follow. So go follow her. If what I do, if you watch me declutter my closet or something and you were like, you kept way too much stuff, I could not, then I may not be the person you want to watch the decluttering and organizing content from, right? I am making this content for the people who are like me, who look at some of the other decluttering and minimalism content, and it feels like it's not even that I'm not ready to go there, it's that I don't have a desire to go to that level of minimalism. So how do I do things? Where am I? Where's the middle of the road? Like, where's the decluttering for maximalist? That's kind of the lane that I am in. So that's the perspective that I share things from. So it may be for you. I hope it is, especially if you've made it to this point in the video. But it may not be, and that's totally fine. Again, different strokes for different folks. We all get to live our own lives, and I don't ask you to come and clean and organize my house. Therefore, the amount of things and what I keep and don't is really of no consequence to you, and vice versa. So I'm only sharing this with you because these are things that have really helped me and helped kind of free me from the guilt of feeling like, well, I should do that, or that whether or not you're a true minimalist or not speaks to something greater and more meaningful about your character or personality, or whether or not you're a good or bad person. It's simply not the case. Those two things are not linked in that way. And most people who are minimalists will tell you that, like, they don't care what other people do, right? This is just what works for them. That's sort of my approach as well, right? I don't care. If you want to have 2 things in your whole home, knock yourself out. If you want to have a home that you can't see the floor, do it. I don't understand it, but I also don't understand the 2 things. So you know what I mean? I'm here in the middle of the road. Y'all do what works for you. So hopefully you feel like we can take the principles and ideas behind minimalism. We can take the idea of being intentional about our life and what we're bringing into our home, that we're doing things with purpose. We're not just letting Target happen to us. Okay, we're going to Target for what we need and not the things that we don't. And we're making good decisions about what we are bringing into our home. If we're going to continue to bring things into our home and into our wardrobe or whatever, that we're making good decisions about those things. Okay, so we can take that kind of ethos of minimalism and apply it to a maximalist type life, and still be really successful in that and feel really good about being able to declutter and organize and live your life in a way that feels authentic to you, that feels like who you are, and that can bring you that same peace and joy that people who are deep into minimalism, they find and they feel the deeper they go into it. It's the same thing for us. If you're like me and that's not where you find your joy and peace, we can still find that joy and peace, and we can be organized and decluttered and have less and be intentional without being completely minimalistic. So I hope you found this video encouraging or helpful in some way. That is it for me. I feel like I could just keep talking about this forever, but I'm not gonna. I'm gonna let you go. Okay, you're welcome. I'm sorry. I feel like I've held you hostage for a long time. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you again very soon.